Good evening, everyone. This is Anish on behalf of the National Law Training Institute. And today we are here along with Bhavya and Utkarsh. Bhavya got a rank of 129 in CLAT 2021, and Utkarsh got a rank of 53 in CLAT 2021. They both are in the second years, as I am. And they'll be talking about like the comparison between NLS and NALSAR, which one to choose, which one should be kept at a higher preference. So what happened this year is CLAT consortium has asked you to keep the preference list ready before even appearing for CLAT and before the results are out. So that has put a lot of you in a predicament, like which college to choose. A lot of you have some location advantage in NALSAR or in NLS. Some of you have certain like things that you want to consider before applying. So they are here and they'll be clarifying and resolving all your doubts. Whatever you want to ask them, please feel free to drop in the chat box and they'll be answering all the queries. Over to you, Utkarsh.
Thanks, Anish. Hi. We're audible, right? Cool. Hi, everyone. Hope CLAT is going well. And yeah, we know what happens around this time. It's like what, 1 week, 2 weeks before CLAT. Yeah, we can completely understand the mental stress you're going through. We're thankful that you actually came here today. But we can understand your parents would be worried. You would be worried about what college to choose right now. So but just something that to begin the session with, we're not going to give you a categorical answer about whether NALSAR is better than NLS. We're only going to give you certain factors and you can take the decision for yourself. With that out, introducing myself, I'm Utkarsh. I'm in NLS, I'm in my second year.
Hi guys, I'm Bhavya. I'm in NALSAR and I'm also in my second year. And thank you for coming to the session.
Yeah, so we will ensure that you guys can get back to your mock tests on time. So we'll just run. So we've received a few questions already about considerations that you have with respect to answer and endless. Let's start off with them. We see that there's some consideration. The first thing that we have is NALSA's infrastructure compared to NLS, and this includes the library, the mess, hostel, sports, and their accessibility with the main city. Bhavya would like to start off. What do you think about NALSA?
Yeah, okay, so let's just keep the accessibility to the main city at the side. Nalsar is very remotely based. If you want to go to the city, for example, even if you want to have a Domino's at the basicest level, you need to take a cab for like 45 to 1 hour, 45 minutes to 1 hour, and then you'll have to go there and eat it. It's like completely remote. It's like right next in the middle of a jungle, right next to a lake. So the city is really, really far away.
Pay attention to the lake part is really important.
Yeah, so personally I have a lake view room, so I think that is something that Nalsa campus brings a lot of peace to you, and it is a community in itself. Like it is a very self-sufficient space in itself, because it is so far away from the city. Everything is provided. Like there are little shops inside the campus, there are cafes inside the campus, there is a CCD, so it works out that way, but it is very, very far away from the city. And as far as the library is concerned, honestly I was in love with Nalsa Library. It has a huge seating area. It has a lot of good resources, even online resources for Nalsa. Nalsa is amazing. The mess is it's just expanded. They made new mess areas, so like to increase the seating for all the students. The hostels, again, they're being built. They're building new hostels. Like I am living in the hostel that was just built a few months ago. So, and like it is definitely better than the old hostels in terms of sanitation and hygiene and all of that. And I think I'll let Utkarsh talk about that.
Yeah, before I start talking about endless, just one thing before you consider anything here. Bhavya is in a room which has a lake view all through her window. So I mean, all of that accessibility with the main city and hostel. Just think of the fact that you can wake up to a lake view from your window. So that's there. With regards to NLS, so we are in Nagar Bhavi, which is technically the outskirts of Bangalore, but since the city is expanded, you'll find every shop that you need nearby. There are shopping malls nearby. It's basically, you can say, part of the main city. If you come from a tier 2 city like me, I don't think you'll find any difference between NLS locality and like which something which is called traditional Bangalore. I think it's virtually in the city only. With respect to library, we do have the biggest library out of all NLs in the country. But caveat, our library is in the process of being revamped right now. So we have no library access at the moment. The building you see behind us is the academic block, which is like serving as the library right now. By the time you make it to NLS, we've been told that you would have access to the library because the library will be built by then. But again, the terms and conditions apply. The library might still be in the process of being built. but but in like at least at max in 1 year the library would be built. It would be much better, and it would be, and it has a great collection of books. Online resources are, I think, comparable to NALSAR. And with respect to the mess, so we have different boys messes. We have a different mess for men, and we have a different mess for women. NALSAR has a
Yeah,
common
we
mess,
have
I
a
think.
co-ed mess.
Yeah, they have a co-ed mess. So the food is the same, but the food is edible definitely. But you have a peculiar system where your fees do not cover your mess fees, so you have to pay separately if you want to eat lunch or not. And lunch is, to be honest, not the best meal that they have on the menu anyway. So it works out fine. A lot of people don't eat mess at the lunch, don't eat lunch at the mess. A lot of people do. But yeah, the mess food is okay. There have been some complaints of like, I see a question which is further down the list which asks about bugs in the mess. I'll take it right now. So yeah, there is some concerns with regard to, insects and like contamination in mess food. The mess life committee is currently going through, is in the process of reviewing those complaints. We should be done with that. We should have a good overhaul of the mess system this semester. So by the time we should come around, the messages should be better. With respect to hostels, we don't have a co-ed system. We have different boys hostels and we have different girls hostels. The hostels are fine. We have two-seater rooms and we have three-seater rooms for men, and the same for women. There are a few new hostels being built which would have better facilities, but for right now, you have basic facilities. You have a microwave in the hostel. You have a fridge in the hostel. You have induction stove and a kettle in the hostel. Apart from that, we have hostel activities every trimester, something for us to bond over the hostel people. With respect to sports, I think we're lagging far behind what NALSAR is. So yeah, they have a state-of-the-art stadium. They have a state-of-the-art basketball court, tennis court. They have a badminton court,
Yeah, we
indoor
have
badminton
an we
court.
have an indoor badminton court. I think badminton is something that a lot of people enjoy in Nalsa. So like it is like the place to go when you want to take off steam. So yeah, I think sports wise Nalsa is doing pretty well. I would like to talk about the mess food in Nalsa as well. Yes, there have been there have been complaints about the quality of food. But one good thing is, unlike NLS, we have a mess deposit that you submit at before the start of the year, and when you take your meals, you just have to sign your name, and at the end of the semester they just have a list where they show how much you've spent in the entire semester. So like it's not a pay by pay basis of meals.
Just with respect to sports, because NALSAR beat us hard at the last trilateral,
Yeah.
which is like a sports event that NALSAR, NEJS, and NLS have together. We have come to our senses. Now we're collaborating with the Sports Authority of India. They have their infrastructure, their sports infrastructure nearby. So now, unless students are allowed to go to SAI and like participate if they're good enough, if they get selected into the team. But yeah, if you're looking for developing yourself in a sport, I would say that NLS might not be the place for you. Mostly people who are already good at something keep on playing it, and so yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah, I think if you're a person who's into sports, I think Nalsar provides you a better place. Like it also not just infrastructure wise, but also the time wise. Like it just provides you the freedom to engage in a sports. I think that.
Okay,
Let's
so I think we're
yeah.
done with infrastructure.
Yeah.
The second question we have is what is generally the level of standard professors? Bhavya, would you like to go?
I think this is a very like it's like school, honestly. Like you have some teachers that you would really love and some teachers that you wouldn't like, but other people would like. It's just like I think it's on the how they teach. Like some people, some professors have a very lecture oriented sessions, which I personally never enjoyed, and some professors have a reading oriented sessions, which I personally enjoyed. So I think the quality wise, it's competitive, and I feel like NLS has done better in the past few years, considering how many professors you have practically stolen. But yeah, I think professors, I think it's just like some like I personally love law and language, contracts, and economics professors, and so they help you engage with the subject much more. But then there are also professors that which like you just doze on in the class or you don't attend. So yeah, I think it's very competitive. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So NLS basically has been known for its professors over a period of time. In the past, under the last VC, we were kind of, I mean, not doing that great with respect to this. But after the new VC, Professor Sudhir came in, we've had much better rapport with academics in the field. We've been able to poach a lot of professors from different colleges. We post a lot from NLUD. We've been poaching a lot from NALSAR. General standard of professors is extremely good. A caveat there is that you might not always. So see, in every field there are some people who are like really good, and other people who are also really good, but say might not be as good as the other professors that you have here. And because we've been taking in more students from the last few years, we've been having different professors teaching different sections. And because of that, even though the reputation of professors in NLS is generally extremely good, you might be worse off by being in a section which that professor is not teaching.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not taking any subject names, but our section has traditionally not received the most reputed professors that NLS has. So I mean that's something that we definitely need to take a look at, considering NLS has also increased its the intake last year, 3 sections now. So definitely the quality of professors to some extent is diluted. But yeah, generally speaking, the best academics in the field are probably right now at NLS.
Nah, that makes sense. So, the next question is the curriculum too hectic to indulge in co-curricular, especially with the trimester system? So, okay.
Yeah, so like I said, yeah. So unless traditionally the reason why we've been focusing on getting academics, getting better professors, is as you would know, we're a very academic college, very academically centered, especially under the new VC. Academics is something NLS gives complete priority to. So at that point, I think we are actively, or in some senses passively, disincentivized from picking up things that are not academic in nature. For example, even mooting as an activity, which a lot of you would know about. So moot courts are basically you play like your lawyers, and that's a very lucrative activity in law school generally. But because it's not purely academic in a sense, that is an activity which is actually disincentivized in NLS. Same goes for sports, same goes for music, same goes for everything. It's not that the university doesn't want you to do them, it's just the amount of pressure that comes with having a trimester system, having 4 projects for every 3 months, along with an end term, and with an intensive reading list which you need to complete, and with professors who expect a lot from you. I think generally you end up not having the time to do it.
Oh,
As well, right? Yeah,
I think so.
yeah. So the point is that you generally wouldn't get the time to do it. Apart from that, yeah, I mean, you can do it. I know a lot of my seniors who still pursue their hobbies. One of my fifth years, I think, he has a music record out. He was able to do that with the trimester system. He's got an amazing co-op job lined up. So he was good at both of them. If you can balance them, it's good for you. But generally, the idea is that most people just lose their extracurricular activities when you come into NLS. Yeah,
I think,
Bhavya, if you
yeah,
talk
I
something
think
about Nalsar.
NALSAR is a little different from that because I think for us, co-curriculars are very integral to the whole law school experience. So I don't think the academics are so rigorous that you cannot focus out of them. Like for personally, I would go to the classes, I would pay attention, and when you come back, you do a few readings and you're done. But and I think mooting as an activity, especially, is something that is very popular in Nalsar. Like from the beginning of the year, you'll see people socializing and forming teams, and you'll see everybody engaging in those activities. So, and even with how the committees work, there you get a lot of financial aid for these activities. Like that is something that I've realized that Nalsar is very active in, that it provides you with the like it doesn't let you stay behind if you're not financially able to like afford an activity. So mooting, for example, is something that's like very incentivized in Nalsar. And even like, so just now we had our elections and the committees were reconstituted. So everybody's like, so ADR and alternative dispute resolution and debating was something that we weren't that forward, we weren't participating that much. But that's also something that has been changing now, as much as I could see. Like we're having a lot of debating workshops, we're having a lot of ADR boot camps. So I think, and like we're inviting guest speakers to teach help the students out. So I think that's something that co-curricular activities are something that are really important as part of your Nalsar life. Like I don't think anybody in Nalsar is supposed to be just studying their subjects and be done with it. People are publishing or people are doing something else. Like as even my seniors, like you would see them participating in bands, you would see them playing sports, you would see them going out. So like I think it's a whole experience. So I don't think academics is something that really deters you from experiencing other things in NALSAR at least.
So I'll just clarify what I meant when I said the curriculum was too hectic. So if you're someone who likes ACATS and who's really into reading and learning the law, I feel like NLS puts a lot of attention on just the learning law aspect on you. So I think if you're someone who actively enjoys that, then NLS is for you. And I think apart from that, even in curricular activities, I mean, so the lot of people who do manage to make time for it do end up doing extremely well. So we've been doing extremely well in debating and mooting over the past couple of over our history. We've been doing better in debating and mooting than we ever have in academics. So I think it's harder for you to do those activities, harder for you to pick them up. But if you do pick them up, you will have very helpful seniors. You will have an admin which sometimes, it will give you a lot of work that you might not have time to do the activity, but it won't get in your way when you're trying to do it. Should we go on with the third question?
Yeah.
And the fourth question, sorry. Are the people in NLS obsessed with academics, or are they just obsessed with learning the law? I found the add to stream thing. Supposed to be visible and audible.
Yeah. Am I audible to everyone? I mean, to me, it's showing that everyone can see and hear.
Just ask them once again if you are audible.
Are we audible to everyone? Can you please confirm once in the chat box?
I need to chat box. Yeah, we're audible.
Okay. We're so sorry.
Hi, extremely sorry. This is endless Wi-Fi. You can add this in the
Same thing.
infrastructure point, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go. You can continue. We're saying something.
Are the people in NLS obsessed with academics, or and is the general competitive environment toxic or not?
So video is blurry. Bhavya, you can switch on your hotspot.
Yeah.
okay, guys, we'll just join from a different network connection. If you want
Again,
extremely
people,
good Wi-Fi, please go to
NLS.
NALSAR. I heard
Is
endless.
this better now? Yeah, I think it's better.
Is it better now, guys? Just can you confirm in the chat box if you're like visible now?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Chalo, ठीक है.
Yeah, you were answering that question about
Endless
obsession with
obsessed with
academics.
So yeah, because the general trend is that people try to, when the admin is trying to show you that ACATS is the one thing that you should do, culture of seniors who are like who have perpetually done well in academics and with a good academic support base. I think at that point you feel like your standard of success and the standard of success for a general endless student should be academics. Like, I'll be honest with you, a lot of people, their entire personality is their GPA, that is their marks. And yeah, a lot of people in campus tend to judge people by what their GPA is, by what their competency is according to their GPA. And yeah, that does lead to a toxic environment to some extent, where you're like obsessed with, where if you don't do a catch, you generally have a lot of mental health issues. Even if you're doing well at the other aspects of life, just not doing a catch well is something which can give you a lot of which can make you not feel well. But I think at that point you also have a good mental support initiative. Where you have a good mental support infrastructure which is there to back you up. We have tie-ins with like external mental health service providers, which is extremely accessible. So at that point, I think if you have mental stress with respect to academics, that is definitely helpful. Apart from that, I think when you're a part of a student body which knows what it's like, when you have seniors who knows what the academic environment is like, you have a good support system with them telling you what's wrong and you can discuss with them. So in that sense, you have seniors who can help you up, and that leads to lesser toxicity. But yeah, there is some sort of obsession with academics there.
Honestly, I think that comes with every NLU. Like there will be a certain crowd which will be focusing on their GPA, and like, but I think you will find people who will not restrict your who will not restrict their image of you to your GPA. So I think it's like I think that's there in every NLU. Like that's what I
Yeah, I
feel.
think that's comparable.
Yeah, it's comparable. And the next is also about NLS.
Now that NLS has doubled its seats from 2021, how will it affect the relative merit and visibility of a student? Now, like I mentioned previously, whatever I've talked about with respect to professors and with respect to academic standards, all of that has a chance to be diluted because the size of the batch is generally increased. Our seniors were a batch of 80, we're a batch of 120, and the next batch, the current first year batch, is a batch of 180 students. That leads to section division. You have three different professors teaching the same subject. Now, because the general teacher student ratio stays the same, it's still 60 students to one teacher, which was the norm before the batch intake increased to. That might, but I think one point where you might lose out on is just the quality of professors you have to some extent. Because I mean, like I said, unless this has to be one person who's like extremely good in that field. There's generally one extremely good professor, and there are other professors who can also teach the subject, and not taking anything away from the other professors. Because of the fact that the one professor has a great reputation and has a great academic value behind him, there tends to be some sort of losing out when you are in the other section
Yeah.
which doesn't have that professor. So to that extent, there might be some sort of dilution. But I think apart from that, the general student level, the general professor to student ratio is the same.
I
And
think it's also about how like you'll be viewed from outside, and unless
yeah,
through recruiters and all, how will that visibility change?
yeah, I think that visibility. Yeah, so we also have a 3-year LB batch now of 60
Yeah.
students, which might be increased to 120 in the next few years. So I think because NLS was earlier an exclusive place with 80 students, the chances of you getting recruited were almost certain. Now it'll be interesting to see what the new standards will become now that we have 180 students. But I mean, if you're here, if you come here and if you stay near somewhere near, if you pay attention to accounts and stay somewhere near the top or even the middle, I think you should be fairly relaxed. You'll get a good job. After all, the endless tag does carry something. So I think it's still up to question whether that tag will actually do something to recruiters or not. But as far as we've heard, I don't think it should
Yeah,
to a
honestly,
major extent.
after being, interning with the firm, one thing I've realized is that people do give a certain value. Like it's not just like an NLS tag. It's all top three NLUs tag, and there is certain weightage that's given to it. Like there are certain expectations from you. There is a difference in the way they treat you, like in a better sense, for example. So yeah, I don't think that tags going away anytime soon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Fifth question is the administration and faculty cognizant of and empathetic towards problems of students, or are they just grade obsessed and not understanding and perpetuate a mentally damaging cycle? Would you like to get that up?
Yeah, so actually, this reminds me of an incident. A friend of mine was in a bad space mentally in the last semester. So the attendance requirements were something that they could not meet properly. And when we were, so we get a hall ticket for our end semesters, right? And like eligible to write only the papers that you have attended 75% of classes in. So that is something that came up to be a problem. But I think after talking to certain professors, after uh, submitting the necessary proof for their mental health issues, the professors were more than willing to be accommodative. And I think that's something that I really admired. I feel like I think it depends from professor to professor, but like the academic committee, like the professors who are heading the academic committee are some people who have been very, I think we had a system of mental health leaves during the COVID time, and yeah, I think we have like a considerable amount of uh, like leniency that they take when they're considering your issue. So I think people like professors are in general very approachable, according to me. So yeah, that is one thing about NALSA that I personally really like.
Yeah, I think that's also the same way in NLS. So one good part is that most professors we have used to be NLS students who then choose to go into academia and then come back to NLS to teach. So I think they know what kind of environment you've been in. This NLS toxic environment has been there for the past 30 odd years. So they know mostly the concerns you're facing. They know the academic culture, the projects, the exams, the trimester system. And so they generally try to ensure that they give you as less work as possible, but yeah, you will have certain requirements that you'll be expected to fulfill. But should you not be able to meet them, most professors are very, okay with you missing some deadlines as long as it's for a valid reason and you mail them or you go in class and you tell them that this is why I've not been able to do this reading. Or but with respect to, I think one thing which is two things, which is project exemptions and
Oh yeah.
exams. Those are some things which NLS is not that lenient in. It's not a problem of professors. It's just a problem that the admin has generally. So our project system is something which is extremely strict in nature. You have to submit project. You have to submit 2 projects every month. Should you not be able to do that, you get a 6 day leave for like medical reasons or mental health reasons. But after those 6 days, you just won't be able to submit them, period. So I think with some, and I don't think there's a rational logic for it. It's just the admin is not willing to do it. It's something
Yeah.
really frustrating. We're trying to negotiate with the admin, but I don't think there's going to be any change in the current scenario, at least when you guys make it here. So yeah, with that aspect, I think there is some sort of rigidity with respect to endless admin and
Uh,
endless infrastructure.
yeah, I think it's comparatively NALSAR have so there it's not in the hands of the admin exactly. So you mail your professors or you talk to them during class and you ask them for an extension period, and they are the ones who grant, like if they feel like your cause is just, so they are the ones who grant you that extension period, and it's in like in their hands of how long of a period that they want to grant you. So I think that's one thing that is more approachable as a system basically. This is the second point that you were making, right? Exams.
Oh yeah, with respect to exams, also we only have. Suppose you're not able to make it to an exam, you can get a either a repeat or a medical first attempt, and you can give the exam at the end of the trimester. But again, should you not be able to give that exam, there's no other mechanism in place to make sure that
Right.
your academic standards are met. There is some sort of institutional leeway. There's some sort of institutional rigidity that is present, and I think that is a
Yeah, I
point where
think.
the admin is not willing to negotiate, at least right now.
Hmm. Okay, so the next question is, what's the general work environment like? Rigid, toxic, relaxed? Do people exhibit a superiority complex just because of making it into an elite institution? I think we covered the first part
Yeah.
generally, like the rigid and toxic part. But like, do you want to answer the second one?
So a superiority complex. I mean, so I can answer this question from someone from the point of view of someone inside, unless I think because all of us are at the same institution, there's nothing internally that's there. Externally, again, I don't think we're the best people to answer this because we've
Yeah.
not been. I don't think even if that environment was present, we won't be subject to it. We won't be pushed against it. But I think as far as I've heard from other people, there is some sort of elitism that creeps into being an NLS student, an answer student, an EJ
I think
student.
it just comes into your conversations when you're having. Like there is this kind of a way that they would talk about other NLUs, and it honestly I think it perpetuates. It starts from law school and it perpetuates through your entire career. Like as I said, you will be treated differently. You are there is a certain stigma attached to other NLUs, and there is a certain pride attached to NALSAR, NLS, and NUJS, NLU Delhi for that case, that matter. So I don't think, but internally there isn't such because all of us are at the same institution. But yeah, I think, but there is still this thing where when you're talking to somebody, you will see some people who will talk in a very belittling sense about other colleges. So yeah, that I think that's there.
Yeah. Uh,
Uh,
yeah, the next question is, what's the economic class distribution? Do people generally hail from rich or upper middle class families? Or that study of 2018 about this is not true anymore? So yeah, for people who are not familiar with the study of 2018, basically it was a survey of a representation survey of the class distribution in NLS and most top law colleges. And so one thing which came out of that was that most people who come to NLS are rich, upper class,
right.
from upper caste backgrounds. Would you like to talk about NALSA first?
So I think like personally, I feel like it's balanced. I feel I don't know. Like I have like most of my friends are from a normal middle class families, and it's not like there is any kind of an elitism attached to it. But then I also know people who are like superbly rich with like very privileged backgrounds. So I think that exists, but I don't think like as somebody who's also from a middle class family, I have never faced a problem where I couldn't adjust. It was very easy to find people from similar backgrounds and from even from different backgrounds from similar interests. So I don't think like adjustment wise I ever had a problem. And I think one thing I would like to mention is the IDIA efforts that have been happening. So what is the full form? Increasing
Diversity by increasing access.
by increasing access. So I think that's something that's been prevalent in NLS as well as NALSAR. And right now, I think a president is a student who came through that system. So I think it's just a. I think people internally there is no discrimination. I think that's coming from a very privileged
Yeah,
source. Yeah,
so
I don't think I'm the right person to answer that.
that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Whatever we say might come from a little bit of a privileged perspective because the definition of middle class for us might greatly
Yeah.
differ from what is the definition of middle class for someone else. But yeah, generally speaking, from the perspective of a student, sometimes okay, so it's a fact that the fees of NLS and NALSAR and generally
Yeah.
top law colleges in general, it's high, even the government ones. And so families and students who generally tend to come here are from those backgrounds. There is going to be some sort of disparity, at least psychologically, in your head, even if say people who are from high economic class backgrounds do not actually exhibit any form of superior behavior. There might be some psychological impacts in your head when you see your friends Instagram stories partying all night, and just that might have some sort of
Like
psychological impact.
I guess all of us have like different budgets. Like your friend might have a budget of 20K per month while you are surviving on like a budget of 5 to 6. So like I think that's like there is a disparity that way.
Yeah, so it's there to some extent, but I think more and more people from like lesser privileged backgrounds
Yeah,
are making into endless and answer.
I think so
It's
too.
becoming more equitable. Even we have some sort of collectives for people who are like
Yeah,
marginalized to
I
some
was
extent economically. So I think it's becoming better that way,
I think
definitely.
so too. I think even like I was just checking my mail for the fee structure, and I came across like a lot of financial aid and fee concessions that the university has started providing students. And like I know, like the IT department provides laptops to people. So I think that way that like they're trying to be better in that sense. So I think there's certain improvement. Okay. There are statistics of people finding bugs in their meals.
Yeah, I think I covered this a while back. So there were some incidences related to this. We have a mess committee set up right now which is looking into this. I think by the time you guys should come here, it should be much more institutionalized. The mess committee, which is student run, should be functioning at that point, and I think it should be much better. Honestly, admin is actively working to ensure that no more bugs are found. So yeah, I think that's not a concern that we should have right now.
Yeah, I think you get used to like the mess food in general. Oh, sorry.
And what about
Uh,
Anish will take those questions chat box while I'll ask
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
How did it come up?
I don't know
it came up
some
on our
yeah.
screen. Anyways, okay, the next question is, does the campus specifically of NALSAR harbor any reptiles? Okay, before I answer this question for NALSAR, I'm in NLS right now and I saw a huge cobra today. So I don't think this is because Nagar Bhavi, like the place where NLS is. What does it mean, Utkarsh?
Okay, so Nagar Bhavi literally means land of snakes. And okay, so I won't joke with you. Every day in our mail thread, it's kind of a weird day if we don't get a mail thread about some snake,
Yeah.
some beetle, some scorpion being seen somewhere in campus. So yeah,
I think it's the same for Nalsa. Like we also have this mail thread where somebody like we'll just post a picture with the location of scorpion spotted, snake spotted. So I think it's just because of the like where these institutions are based. I don't think there's any escaping that. Cobra. It was really big. Okay. Are there any cats in
oh,
the
this is a fun
campuses?
question.
Okay, I'll proudly say that there's a cat in the girls' hostel in Nalsa right now, and I think it just gave birth to kittens. And it's like a really small, white, gray cat. It's we called it Amul because we feed it Amul milk. But yeah, so but I think during the lockdown, like cats comparatively decreased in number, and the number of dogs increased in campus. There are like a lot of dogs in campus, like in Nalsa right now.
Yeah, that's the same thing for NLS. We have a lot of dogs here. I'm surprised there's usually a dog wandering around here which looks into people's laptops. I'm surprised it isn't here yet. But yeah, there are a lot of dogs. Uh, if you're someone who's into animals, I think you'll have a lot of dogs here. With respect to cats, we have one cat in WHOR, which has been kept secretive from the admin until now. But I don't think there are a lot of cats here generally.
Yeah,
I've only seen like two or three in
I
my
saw cats in Nagar Bhavi in general. Like we went to the
yeah
shop and like there were like two
yeah.
cats right there. So I think you'll find cats.
And then okay, if you even if you don't have animals around, there's a pet shelter which is nearby here. So if you're someone who's into animals, you can just go over
Yeah.
there.
Okay. Is the connectivity of Nalsa and the city of Hyderabad poor? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but like, so one thing, like one good initiative that the student body took was that on Saturdays and Sundays you have college-run bus services. So like there are certain times where it would like twice a day it would go to the city, like the main bus station, like where like it is very easily connected to Hyderabad through metro. So the bus takes you to the main city and it like brings you back. It like so twice a day that bus service runs on weekends. So I think that's something that they've done. Honestly, one thing I would like really tell you is that you are kind of isolated. So like everybody's just in one campus. Everybody has the same hangout spots. So you'll see like there's no getting away from not classmates. Like it's just the same people that you're gonna hang out with. And like Hyderabad is really far away. So like if you're going, you'll have to come back quickly because finding cabs is kind of an hassle. A kind of a hassle, especially when you're coming back to campus because everybody knows that you won't get a like they won't get a ride back. So nobody wants to come to campus. So yeah, I think that connectivity wise, Hyderabad is Nalsa is a bit poor.
Next question is: do you get a twin shared room or a triple shared one? What will you get?
You get a twin shared room in Nalsa till your year three. So like for second and third year, you have a twin shared room, and in fourth and fifth years, you have individual rooms for both boys and girls.
In NLS, for both boys and girls, we have an option of either twin shared rooms or triple shared rooms. So the triple shared rooms are not like bigger twin shared rooms. They're different in the sense that you have different cubes assigned to you, which have like walls on three sides, and on one side you can just put a curtain. So it's sort of like an individual space, but again, it's just a curtain, so it's not soundproof. But yeah, you won't get an individual room per se in NLS.
Also, I would like to mention, like, while we're on the topic of hostels, we mentioned that for girls and boys it's there, but NALSA right now uh, also has facilities for people who are identified with neither of those genders. So I think that is something that you should also keep in mind. Like there are assigned places where people with those genders can stay, and I think it's a very friendly environment in that sense. Like again, I think from a privileged space, but like personally, what I've noticed is that there's gender neutral bathrooms, there are gender neutral hostels. So yeah, I think that's a plus point.
Yeah, and it's not just about NLUs and law colleges in general. NALSAR is the only college in the country. I think the first, I'm not sure about only, but it's definitely the
First.
first college in the country which had gender neutral hostels. NLS has gender neutral washrooms. We're pushing for gender neutral hostels, but then it might take some time.
Yeah.
But NALSAR is way ahead of us in terms of queer friendliness in general.
Okay. Pros and
Uh,
cons of trimester system of NLS versus two
I think we
semester
mostly
system.
covered this, no? Trimester versus semester.
Yeah, I think we can talk about the internship break a little bit.
Sure,
Like,
yeah.
so in NALSA, you have 4 months of one semester, then 2 months of break, and then 4 months of another semester, and then 1.5 months of break. So for me, I think like having two continuous internships, it can be really hectic. Like what I'm doing right now, I had one internship in November, and now I'm interning again. So that can be a little hectic, and you would want to go back to college maybe. But it also gives you some extra time. Like if you want to take a few days off and go home, that's also something that's possible, which I don't feel like is possible in 1 month exactly because you have to intern for the entire month. So I think that's something that can be considered. And also there is a good flow when you're shifting through internships. Like I think you get to intern more when you have a semester system instead of a trimester system.
Yeah, I think Bhavya said it. So in trimester system, we have 3 months of classes and then 1 month of breaks. You can intern during those breaks. One thing is that because we are one of the only few law colleges which have a trimester system, it's generally a little easier for us to find internships at firms, say specifically, because law other law colleges just don't have vacations at that time, so it's a little easier for you to find internships. But yeah, apart from that, I think we just have lesser internships in terms of volume than NALSA because they
Yeah,
get to have 4 internships
we
of
get to
one
have
month,
4 interns.
while we only get to have 3 of a month.
Um,
This one. How much is the yearly expense that we need to bear in both NLS and NALSAR?
Okay, from NALSA, as far as I remember, the last installment I paid was like 2.6 lakhs, I think, per annum. It's per annum, right?
Yes, per
Yeah,
annum.
it's per annum.
Does that include everything?
Yeah. So that will like so you have like a mess deposit, you have hostel, you have internet, you have library fee. Like there are like all these little charges that add up to like tuition fee could be like 1 lakh, but there are like all these charges that will like just make it more. So yeah, I think you should expect like a annum like my yearly budget of 2.6 to 2.7 lakhs for like just your college essential fees.
Yeah, and with NLS, I think it's expensive. It's around 3.2 for freshers, and I think it's a 3.2 lakh per annum for freshers. But caveat that does not include your lunch fees. That will add up to somewhere around like 6k, 8k per.
No, 18,000 per year.
18,000 per year, somewhere around 6k per trimester. So that's 18,000 per year, which is an additional cost. Apart from that, I think everything else is included in the fees only.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you'll have to get some books sometimes. So if that's a concern, but like I said, there's an economic committee. There's a committee. There's a collective of people with marginalized economic backgrounds, which does help out with stuff like that.
And honestly, your seniors will give you books. Like
Yeah,
that's what happened with us.
exactly.
Your seniors just pass on books, so you won't have to buy a lot of them. How often do these colleges conduct
We talked
extracurricular?
about this, no?
Yeah, I think so. But like, if you're looking for other than co-curricular, if you're looking for like fun activities, so I think we have a lot of fests. Like Nalsar has just a lot of fests. We have fests for every community. So like we have a Telugu fest, we have a Saudi fest, which is like Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka. We have a Lodi fest, which is for people from Delhi, Punjab, Haryana. We have an Awadh Magad fest, like which is central India, and we also have a Rajasthani fest, which is Rajasthan. So like we have a lot of fests, and I think it's like a lot of fun. People are preparing. Everybody just dress up like for that one weekend. Everybody will be dressed up, and you will have music, and you have special meals days. Like you'll have specialities from the area in the mess. So I think yeah. So I think it's like more lively that way. Um, Other than that, like as soon as the freshers come, we have intra batch matches, like which is kind of like an icebreakers thing. So like you have like a lot of cricket, kabaddi, all of these matches. So I think that's also something that to look forward to.
Yeah, with respect to that party culture in NLS, we don't really have a lot of events, I think, as much as Nalsa does. But we do have a huge rock fest every year, which is Strawberry Fields, something which is popular all over the country. Apart from that, we have a Culcom at NLS, a cultural committee, which hosts events throughout the year. We have a Dandiya night scheduled for sometime this month. And we have the Culcom also hosts something called Uniweek at the end of the third trimester, where we have like a prom, something like we would have seen in Hollywood shows probably. We have other other events, other cultural events, inter-batch bands, inter-batch dancing competitions, stuff like that. So yeah, NLS also has events, and because you're in the city, you can always like go out and do whatever you want to.
That too.
I don't think we have any more questions here.
Guys, just randomly talk about last 15 days strategy.
Okay,
Mental health, motivation, just motivate them.
Okay.
okay, last 15 days. What were we doing last? So I think in the last 15 days, uh, all you can do right now is just know that if you've been preparing for 2 years, 1 year, 6 months, whatever you've done, just know that that will come out on the last day, as long as you keep your composure. And that's, I know that's not that hard of a thing to do unless you let yourself have a lot of anxiety at this point.
Honestly, as somebody who's like, I was very, very anxious before the paper. Like, I think I told, I was very, very anxious. Like, even when I was going to the exam center, like, my heart was in my mouth. But I think when I looked at that paper, and like you just take a deep breath and you see the first passage, and I think you just need to remind yourself that you just need to take the paper passage by passage. Just like read a passage, just be involved in that passage and forget about everything else. And I think that's something that helped me sail through the paper. And as somebody who's been through it, one thing I would tell you is it's much easier than your
Yeah.
anxious brain tells you it is. Like it's much easier than that. Like after it ends, you'll be like, oh, like all this thing for just like 2 hours of this. Oh, it's 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So all this for 2 hours of this, you'll just feel like it wasn't the anxiety wasn't worth it. Like personally, I just thought that oh, I could have done this without being anxious too.
But a caveat that only comes with lots of practice. I think in
Yeah.
the last few days, if you give mocks, that's really the best thing you can do right now. Just giving and analyzing mocks, figuring out where you're going wrong. GK is especially important, I think, around the last 15
Yeah,
days.
because I think GK is something when you see the paper, you might get like a little blindsided. So I think GK is something that you need to cover a vast area, but also something that we realized is that you can't cover too many sources. Otherwise, you'll end up being confused and you won't know where you're headed, and your confidence will just like drop even more. So I think one thing that you could do is like just keep revising at this point. I would suggest that revision of GK at this point is the most important thing. And as far as mocks go, like personally, there was a time when I was giving a mock every day, and it drained me out so much that I couldn't look at a mock anymore. So I think in the last 15 days, I would suggest that you give a fewer mocks, but you analyze them much more than you have analyzed your previous mocks probably. And I think one thing that we did before the exam, and this is a like a very could go well, could go worse thing. I solved like two passages of English and two passages of logical reasoning right before exam, like half an hour before it in the car. And I think it just gave me that it's kind of like a warm up. But just make sure that the passages that you're choosing are not too difficult, or that like it could like completely ruin your confidence. For me,
I choose passages for her and she chose them for me.
Utkarsh chose the passages for me. Like he made sure that they were like okay passages to do, and I think it just really put me in a space where I was like, okay, I can solve things. So I think that's
Yeah, I
something.
think if you have some mentors or guiding you, I think you could talk to them around this
Yeah.
time and just figure out exactly what you as a individual should focus on. For example, I was someone, I don't think I was that weak at maths. So in the last few weeks, I just didn't do any more maths because just even if I got even one question wrong, I would start doubting myself. So what I did was I trusted my abilities and didn't do a lot of maths. But I think this is where mentors come in who've been with you for a longer period of time. I think they can tell you better about what you should be
Yeah.
focusing on in the last couple of days. Other than that, I think guys, you should just honestly the night before CLAT, all I did was watch like 5 episodes of Friends or something.
Yeah, even I was watching Big Bang Theory. So I think just like last 15 days is something that you need to give time to yourself to, because you're going into an important thing, that something that you've been looking forward to. So I would also just like let yourself enjoy it, let yourself enjoy the process, because like it's not gonna come back again. So just let yourself enjoy the process, I would suggest.
Also, guys, CLAT is definitely not the end of the world. I think
It's not.
it's very easy for us to say trust me when people said that to us when we were preparing for
Yeah,
CLAT.
it's very
We hated them a lot. But I think now we can realize one thing is that CLAT was really not. I think we gave a lot of importance to that
yeah,
exam
it
which we
was
shouldn't have.
there's a lot of other options, like a lot of other options. But I don't think this is the best time to talk about it. Just focus on just focus on CLAT. Yeah.
Anish, is there anything else?
I think it's fine only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're done?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're
Yeah,
done.
okay, I'll come.
Thanks, guys. All the best for CLAT.
All the best.
Thank you, Utkarsh and Bhavya, for this amazing session. It was really a pleasure to have you with us. For all of your info, we'll be having like students from other institutions as well. Like tomorrow, we'll be having someone from NLU Gandhinagar, and day after, we'll have someone from NLU Jodhpur who will be talking about their life at their respective colleges and also give you an insight of what goes on in their average day at their respective institution. If you have any doubts, please reach out to us on Telegram. My username is Anish underscore 1507, and you can also reach out to us via the NLTI discussion group. Thank you, Utkarsh and Bhavya. That was an amazing session.